Shalom, everyone, and I hope you all are up and ready to seize the day. I hope you all, for some of you that partook in the Turkey Day, you enjoyed yourself, you gave honor to our Heavenly Father and enjoyed company with your family. But today, I'm here to sober you up out of your turkey coma, because while most of the country was enjoying their feast, there was some provocations and some escalations that were going on. Just give me 1 second. All right, so let me get into it and let's not waste time. Russia hits Ukrainian energy facilities. Kiev sees despicable escalation. November 28th, Russia unleashed on Thursday its second big attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure this month, triggering deep power cuts across the country. President Vladimir Putin said Moscow had struck in response to Ukraine's strikes on Russian territory with U.S. medium-range ATACMS missiles. He said Russia's future targets could include decision-making centers in Kiev, which is not good. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky accused Russia of a despicable escalation, saying it had used cruise missiles with cluster munitions. Later in his nightly video address, Zelensky said he was speaking to Western leaders, including NATO Secretary General Mike Rutte, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, to forge a response to Russia's attempt to make the situation more unbearable and drag out war. That's the pot calling the kettle black. Now is the time to strengthen our positions, the position of Ukraine and our partners. U.S. President Joe Biden condemned the Russian attacks as outrageous, saying in a statement that it serves as another reminder of urgency and importance of supporting the Ukrainian people in their defense against Russian aggression. Over 1 million people lost power in the immediate aftermath of the strikes, and millions more had their existing schedule of rolling power cuts intensified. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia used 91 missiles and 97 drones in Thursday's attack. It said 12 of those had hit their targets, most of which were energy and fuel facilities. The enemy is using a large number of missiles and drones. Their massive use in certain areas often exceed the numbers of means of air defense cover. The Air Force said in a statement infrastructure facilities were damaged in 9 regions. Ukraine's Interior Ministry said power cuts during the winter. The attack reinforced fears of long power cuts during the winter months as temperatures hover around zero. Again, this is all pretty much been pre-planned. The West and Europe are really in dire, straits for energy, and this war for energy, and all the escalations and the the attack of that pipeline is really rearing its ugly head now. They have no choice but to escalate because they don't have really any infrastructure or, way to keep their population warm. And I will invite some people up here to talk about this. Let me put out the invite to the chat to have people come up here and talk. Let's be respectful with the guidelines. If certain code words to talk about certain things about that nation over there, using our words a little bit, circumspectly. And this should be a good discussion. Give me 1 second. All right, so let's get some video context for this news development.
However quickly the Ukrainians try to repair their energy infrastructure, Russia is determined to destroy it, today using their newest and most advanced weapon.
The temperature on the surface of the sun is 5,500 to 6,000 degrees. Therefore, everything that is in the epicenter of the explosion is divided into fractions, into elementary particles. Everything turns essentially into dust.
The Russian president had bounced into a meeting with his near neighbors before threatening to reduce Ukraine to dust and issuing sympathy that could be interpreted as veiled menace towards the incoming American president.
I, and I think that you as well, were most struck by the fact that entirely uncivilized methods were used against Trump, including attempted murder, and more than once. By the way, in my opinion, he is not safe now either.
We're ready.
The president-elect has nominated 80-year-old General Keith Kellogg as his envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Despite recommending that the battle lines be frozen, General Kellogg is regarded as more sympathetic to Kyiv than other potential candidates. Meanwhile, in Mykolaiv, they were queuing for water after the city's power stations were struck. Ukraine said Russia used 91 missiles and 97 drones in the early hours of this morning, 12 of which hit their targets, mostly energy and fuel facilities.
There's no power. Public water stations aren't working. I checked 5, and only this one here is working. One was attached to a power generator, but it didn't work anyway.
Generators hummed in Lviv, where 500,000 people are without power. And in Kyiv, families clustered in the underground, just as they did in the early days of the war. President Putin has made it clear that Ukrainian civilians will suffer for the American, British and French boosting of Ukraine's ability to hold, if not improve, its position before President Trump comes to office.
The recent authorization for long-range strikes on military facilities in Russia helped, but the pressure on Russia must be maintained and increased at different levels, so that Russia feels what war is.
Residents of Nerobaiska near Odessa are certainly feeling what war is. They took a direct hit today. Ukraine needs better air defenses, more soldiers and Western weaponry. Russia has more men, more artillery, more missiles, and President Putin believes that he has both time and momentum on his side.
Lindsay Hilson reporting. Well, earlier I spoke to Maria Metsentseva, who's a Ukrainian politician from President Zelensky's Servant to the People party. I began by asking her if Russia's attacks and Vladimir Putin's threats herald a very difficult winter ahead.
Today, we have witnessed yet another genocidal war crimes. We can't identify it in any other way, because
Oh yeah, my bad. Fair use, 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 fair use.
all the claims that are conducted by President Putin or whoever from the top political and military leadership are saying what they're doing. So they're targeting civilian and critical infrastructure. They're targeting civilians. Today, the government and local administrations managed to get back electricity in many towns and regions across Ukraine. So it proves our efficiency. But this is not the most pleasant thing to witness, I must say.
Is the danger here that the kind of longer range missiles that you're now allowed to use by the Americans on Russian targets are not really fundamentally changing the war in your favor, but are provoking a much stronger response from the Russians? And that ultimately means that you're losing out in this.
No, we are definitely winning with this decision. We're very much long-awaited decision. I definitely know supported by British people, and not only the French and others. Given the green light finally by American partners, proves that our identified sports of evil, we call them, are very correct, because they are military targets. According to international laws of war, we are eligible to target them, unlike Russians are doing. So they are committing complete opposite war crimes against civilians. So this is not an escalation.
Is this the end game? Is that what we're witnessing here, that both sides are notching it up? Because when President Trump becomes president, he has promised that he'll try to broker some kind of peace very quickly. So are both sides trying to get as much territory, inflict as much damage as possible before the end of January?
Matthew, I must say the question itself sounds a little bit absurd, because we are at sovereign territory of our homeland, trying to actually regain back our territories. In Russia, what Russia is doing is trying to, get our territories under their control.
But Maria, there's no one I've met in the United States or indeed outside the US, even those who support you in your cause, who thinks that realistically you're going to get any of the territory back that's been occupied by Russia.
Well, we have proven with various operations, like one of most successful operation called by American Institute of War, Kharkiv Liberation Operation, Kherson Liberation Operation, that we are able to do that when we have enough means of weapons, and not only. So I think when all sanctions would be working, when just peace can be implemented by various decisions of punishing the war crimes, we can reach that as well.
But finally and briefly, if there is no formal path towards NATO membership, if there's not even an invitation to join NATO, but there are other things in discussion, is that enough? Could that be something that President Zelensky could sell to his own people?
Well, it's not a trade, it's a very brutal aggression which we withstand daily. And support for Euro-Atlantic integration, both EU and NATO membership, are enshrined in our constitution, but most importantly, supported in many regions, over 90% of the population. So I think we should rely on this opinion.
Okay. Maria Metsentseva, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Brother Karis, welcome. I had no idea you were going to come up. How are you doing? What say you about this this news development?
Well, we're here for another day. That's really what I can say. Over this time, and now I'm back. Family, just had to get some things together, but we're in some interesting times. And I'm presuming, I didn't get a chance to see the full video. Maybe you would like to play it again, but I'm presuming that these are the
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, I'm presuming that this was the declaration that Putin had made regarding.
You mean regarding striking the decision-making centers?
Yep. And the inevitable use of the Oreshnik and what that fallout is going to be.
It's funny that you say that because this was just them attacking the power grid, and this one briefly talked about that, but right on cue, here we go. Just bear with me. I had that article. Where is it, man? But yeah, this was basically them talking about how they saw them attacking the energy grid as a escalation, and also how this has left a lot of them without power, and this is gonna force them their backs against the wall again, or even more. So let me see, and maybe I should just share the entire screen. Give me 1 second. Is it or actually by window would be better. So there you go. Can you see it?
Are you able to kind of zoom in so the folks can see the writing? There you go.
Okay. Putin threatens to target decision-making centers in Kiev with Oreshnik missile. Decision-making centers in Kiev can be among the targets of Oreshnik, Russia's new intermediate-range ballistic missile, IRBM. Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed on November 28th. Putin has repeatedly threatened to attack Ukraine's decision-making centers since the beginning of Russia's full-scale war. Russia daily strikes Ukrainian cities with drones, missiles, and guided bombs, with nearly 200 aerial targets launched at Ukraine overnight on November 28th. Speaking at the Collective Security Treaty Organization summit in Astana, Putin said that Russia's military leadership is now choosing targets in Ukraine to hit them with Oreshnik. These could be military facilities, defense and industrial enterprises, or decision-making centers in Kiev. Russia first launched Oreshnik in an attack against the city of Dnipro on November 21st. Shortly thereafter, Putin claimed that there are currently no ways of countering this weapon. Oh, I believe him. Russia's Oreshnik attack followed Kiev's first successful strike on military target on Russian soil using U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles. The Russian Defense Ministry admitted more such strikes against targets in Kursk and Bryansk Oblasts. Bryansk Oblast had followed later. According to Putin, Russia has begun mass production of Oreshnik. Previously, a U.S. official told the Kiev Independent that Moscow likely possesses only a handful, yeah, right, of these experimental missiles. In the case of mass use of these missiles, the power of this strike would be comparable to the use of nuclear weapons, although Oreshnik is not a weapon of mass destruction, Putin added. The Kiev Independent could not verify these claims. Of course, they don't want to, because, they are, looking like they got the egg on their face, and they are literally have their backs against the wall. Experts have called into question his claims regarding the weapon's novelty, and analysts, including Pentagon officials, have said the missile appears to be based heavily on Russia's RS-26 Rubzez IRBM. The missile fired at Ukraine a week ago carried warheads without explosive, Reuters reported on November 27th, citing two unarmed senior Ukrainian government sources.
Well, I'm going to say this. The fact that they, number one, didn't care about, NATO didn't care about going into Kursk and Bryansk. To me, it's provoking an attack. It's provoking the response. And you have to understand, this is really the fight or flight mode. Well, where are you going to flee to? That's going to be the question, fight or flight. So where do you flee to? You don't really have a flight because you don't have an economy that's actually a thriving economy anymore. And you can't say or tell the people that your economy is not very good, because then you have issues to deal with their economy crumbling. America's economy, I've told you, America's economy is ran off of military force and military interactions that precedes the quote unquote somewhat diplomatic overtures, right? Or their supposed diplomatic statescraft, supposedly, right? Do what we say, or you will feel the almighty strength of the hammer of the whole world. And now you have something that's literally looking like a nail that's going to crack open that hammer of the whole world. Because understand, it's not just Ukraine. That shows that if that technology is already there in Russia, you already know the Chinese have it. That's bottom line. You already know the Chinese have that technology. And,
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if folks have seen this, that China was caught. A Chinese vessel was caught.
Hey, yo, Brother Karras, are you reading my mind? Stop it. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah. NATO warships around. Yeah, Chinese vessel. You got to add those links in the chat there, Brother Guard, so they can have all this for themselves.
Okay.
Make all sure right. Make sure that they know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
this is how being reported, right? NATO warships surround Chinese ships suspected of sabotaging undersea internet cable. Ship allegedly dragged 100 anchor 100 miles.
Yo,
man, they were trying to cut some things up.
And it says two undersea internet cables connecting to Finland and Sweden to Central Europe were cut last week, with authorities suspecting sabotage. According to the Wall Street Journal, investigators suspect that the Yipeng 3, a Chinese bulk carrier traveling to Egypt from Russia and loaded with fertilizer, deliberately dropped its anchor in Swedish waters to sever the BCS east-west interlink cable connecting it to Lithuania, and then did it again the following day to damage the Sea Lion 1 cable between Finland and Germany. In total, they suspect the ship dragged its anchor for 100 miles, over 100 miles. It's extremely unlikely that the captain would have not noticed that the ship.
Extremely unlikely. Basically, that dude was doing it on purpose with a vessel that was a Chinese linked or backed vessel, Yipeng 3, and it was traveling to Europe or to Egypt from Russia. Come on now. So now we can all understand what is happening. We can all surmise, get a little bit of an idea of how these things have gone on. This is now you're looking at the setup. This is a setup for a conflict. They're not going to want to say it's World War III, right? They're not going to want to declare war.
Never.
Because honestly, if you declare war, do you know that when you declare war, Congress has to actually authorize the declaration of that war, which means that Congress by law actually has to tell people how much is available and how much money they actually have. And I'm not sure if they're even allowed to really have the authority to declare war due to a massive budget deficit. So it may just be it's a conflict. And they'll say a global conflict.
A global misunderstanding.
No, that's not a misunderstanding. They're gonna be fighting.
I know.
They have to say it's a global conflict. They're gonna be fighting. Oh, you misunderstand me. Here's another, ICBM. Here's another tactical nuke. Oh, you're still having a misunderstanding. But no, that is the conflict. And in doing so, understand there are severe repercussions when the U.S. declares war, because the moment that the U.S. does declare war, everybody is under martial law. That is what we're seeing. I don't know when we'll be under martial law. I don't know if the idea is let's have everybody be in a good mood to have Christmas and then they strike. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to strike after January, I believe the 9th or 10th. That's the Russian Orthodox. Or if they'll even have it go on, probably days before the inauguration. They have a little bit of time to play this script out.
And that's 2 months from now.
And that's 2 months from now.
Yeah,
exactly. They want it's not maximum pressure. Remember the whole thing of maximum pressure. This is now going to be on society maximum anxiety, because then you have to see folks are going to try to figure out where are they going to be able to cut their losses, especially in this economy that's not doing so well. You have a German economy that has petered. I really think that China's economy, when they said that China's economy has petered out and all this other stuff, to me, I think that is really by design, because they're already trying to reduce probably cost and keep core costs in-house. So then they don't have all that risk and what it is. It's called exposure, all that money hanging around. They want to continue to keep their money, keep their gold, keep their wealth, whatever they're trying to do, so then they can get their war machine going on. Because to me, in my little bit of estimation, that you would have a war machine like no other in China that would then be supplying North Korea and Iran easy access. And guess what? It's a really easy access, because they'll be shipping things through Astana, which is Kazakhstan, which is that northern tip of the Caspian or old Khazarian Sea. So yes, so all these geopolitical inflammations that's there, people are looking at it. Look, no, Russia was there as literally Russia was just a probing operation. Hey, they're going to move this, they're going to move that, because ultimately the goal was if they can get through Russia, and the next step is they can get through China. China, for all intents and purposes, is the landlocked, or excuse me, it's landlocked, not landlocked. China, for all intents and purposes, is a sea-locked country. But imagine that sea-locked country having access via ground. Imagine that sea-locked country, you can get through it through Afghanistan, and that failed. And now trying to get to it through Iran because Russia has failed. These are the geopolitical maneuverings that folks will rarely talk about because nobody wants to tell you their plan. They're just going to tell you their opinions or their thoughts. So it can sound educated and formulated, and they're not telling you what they're trying to do. No, they can conquer. They're going to conquer. They don't care how long it will take for them to conquer. Generations, they don't care. They don't care. That's why when I put on there things to come a couple of days ago on Quest or Covenant Awakenings channel, you all need to see that movie. I'll drop that link to that movie. It is on YouTube and it is in color. Because you have to understand they are looking at a generational battle. And in that generational battle, they do not care. They will make sure. They'll make sure that they are going to build their bunkers underground. They literally laid out the plan and things to come. I'm sorry, family. I'm trying to find the come I can't
It's all good, Brother Karras, because we have our London correspondent, our British correspondent, Rebel Against the Republic. What say you, sister, about these news developments going on as we in America were enjoying our Turkey Day? Not us per se, but the country as a whole.
Shalom to you, shalom, Brother Karras, and shalom to the chat. This is exhausting. This is really exhausting. There's so much that's going on everywhere. I've been trying to look at everything and see what's going on, and it's like it's really tiring. It's exhausting. But the way I see things is that there's a lot of posturing going on, and I agree with what you're saying, Karras. Nobody's going to really tell the other side exactly what they've got. If you've got a lot, you're going to downplay your numbers. Mm-hmm. If you've got less, you're going to upplay your numbers. Mm-hmm. I think that the West is not prepared to deal with what they think they're dealing with is, I don't even know. For the most part, I believe that they feel that they can muscle their way through things like they've always done. They've had their way for about, I could say about 100 years, but really and truly it's ever since they took us. It's about 1,000 years since the time of the Romans. They've been, just trotting off from one conquest to another and not realizing that this was their time of blessing, because they believed that this was their manifest destiny. Now things are not going according to their plan. I was watching, what is his name? Some Russian gentleman called Alexander Dugin, I think. And he on YouTube, and he was basically praising Africa and saying it's time for Africa to literally pull itself out, decolonize its not just its borders, but the African mindset needs to be decolonized. And he was saying that he basically said that Africa needs to get the West out, continue to do what you're doing. And he said that Russia will stand with you. We pointed out history, said, we've never colonized you. I think he mentioned something like, we know they want resources. And
they want resources. Yeah, absolutely. But they're trying to lay out their argument. Listen, we have never treated you ill.
Exactly. That's fine, because everybody wants to get what they want. They want resources. We want to be able to have access to be an economic powerhouse. Africa's never had that, not on the scale in which the West has. So it'd be nice for Africa to.
I don't know.
Well, in recent history, in the history that we know of.
Yes. Go ahead.
I'm not talking about like ancient day. Of course we did. We had we had what China. We know China was dealing in trade with Africa long before it was with Europe. Long before, when Europe was still, doing what they were doing. But when I'm talking about from in modern history, Africa's never had the economic independence that the West has boasted for forever. But that's because the West has exploited Africa, and not just Africa, all the other nations, to be honest with you, all the continents, including itself. So it would be nice to be able to trade freely without the constraints, without the West holding a choke chain around our neck.
Well, I would say this. If you're a prisoner seeing the guards fighting, now's the prison break.
I could get that analogy.
Now's literally the prison break.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're seeing how this prison break is coming to pass, because folks are now seeing, our brothers and sisters on the continent, they're not dumb. They've just been oppressed.
I don't think any of us thought that they were dumb. We do know that there is a little naivete about them, but that's to be expected. They don't know the oppressor the way we know them.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But they're learning fast.
And they're learning fast. Yes. They've heard us, and now they are trying to move with us. Albeit our dance and our coordination is a little bit bumbling at times, but we are really in a season that they can see what's happening. And as they're seeing what's happening, they're making moves. You have now Chad, Senegal. I know Guinea's going to be there. Probably pretty soon, Guinea-Bissau, Togo, and other nations are coming. They are coming. And when they get here, or finally, I'm going to say here, as in when they get on the right page, as they finally decide to get on the right page, the West is losing its foothold in a very, very dramatic manner. I can't even tell you how dramatic it is.
Very dramatic. I mean, literally, later, Exploring the Motherland at 10 a.m., I will talk about how literally Niger is literally kicking out any, people who are not in solidarity with the Alliance Sahel states, how they've had a conference, standing on business, telling them that, we will continue to seek economic interests and, do deals with our people, for our people. And, there's also, we just an hour ago, Chad said it's going to cut ties to with France, and also ECOWAS is, feeling the brunt of the loss of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and they also the alliance the alliance of his Hill states. Excuse me, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. They'll officially state their departure from ECOWAS in January. So it's just another black eye on ECOWAS's part of how they lost Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And, it's just keeps on reigning true that, the continent is waking up.
That region stops them from, well, we know about the pipeline. That was their biggest, that was going to be their biggest export. And the thing is, it wouldn't have been bad if they were getting what they should be getting from it. But you don't even own those pipes. So you don't even own the oil that comes out of the veins of your own land. It's being taken, sucked out of you by the people that don't have anything. So I'm so pleased and proud that the Sahel region is the way it is, and I'm glad that ECOWAS is feeling that, because they have been doing what they want to do without listening to their people. They put their people in a situation that is just, it's terrible. You cater to the West and you let your people just become destroyed. You're not for your people. It's an organization that needs to die along with the West.
Well, ECOWAS.
Yes.
ECOWAS. Yeah, and that is what you are seeing, because honestly, the AU made some very pronounced moves with Algeria a couple of years ago in early 2023, when it had omitted a what nation, a spectator nation or an observer nation. That was that Eastern Mediterranean nation.
I know what you said when you said the observer nation. I fully understood what you were talking about.
And they were not able to be involved.
Do you know how things would have played out if they were? Can you imagine?
Exactly. But understand, they're not dumb. They know who they are. They know what they are doing. And now understand this. Look, France lost. They lost Algeria because they are now a BRICS partner.
Yes, France lost when that what was it? The general said what he said about what's his face, Macron, telling him he was stupid and he woke up Africa. I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, did he seriously just say that? It was a Trump moment when Trump said, yeah, you don't have to vote again.
and just to confirm what I'm saying, here's an article, but of course, it's really, I'm not going to say it's really hard, but it's, you got to really dig to find these articles and to find these sources, because they are actively shutting it down communication and actively shutting down media that does not show them in a pleasing light. But yes, African intelligence, the heads of state of the West African Regional Organization will meet next month in Abuja. The main issue at their summit will be the ratification of withdrawal from ECOWAS of Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, which are all now run by military juntas.
Let me address Team Truth. It says, isn't AES controlled and influenced by NATO? No, they're not. ECOWAS is. AES is not. And no, Chad would not be switching plantation. Matter of fact, Chad would be dropping the shackles.
Hallelujah.
And if you and the thing is, if we don't understand what's going on, then we just become ignorant to the actual reality. And I want to make sure that we're not ignorant, that we remain in truth, because it's the West that wants to continue to keep us ignorant, just as that French general had said.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always been that's been their spirit. It's another methodology of divide and conquer. You can divide a mind if that mind is in ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Divide it and implant it with something else that you want. And that's what they've been doing with us, to our brothers and sisters on the continent. And if we're going to be honest, they've been doing that to the whole world. Because why does the whole world have a reason to hate us? They don't. We've given them no reason, but they have a reason to hate them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you guys, I could show a brief video again, and I put the source in the chat about ECOWAS and what's going on, again, to just further support and validate and give veracity to what we're saying.
And the French economy, yes, this is curtains for the French economy. They know they're on their last leg. It's so weird when you see that. What's that palace called again in France?
The Champs.
That big round palace. Yeah.
Or Versailles.
Something like that. Yeah, that over pompous thing. It's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful. It's well made, well constructed, and so on and so forth. And it's like all the gold. And I remember seeing it in I don't know, what's that film? The Three Musketeers, the newer one with, yeah. But anyway, I remember seeing all the gold in there, and I was like, wow. But then you think to yourself, where did they get the gold from? Because we know there's no gold in Europe.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Can you see the video?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They can't yet, because they can now.
You have to share.
I can see. I've got it on my television, and I can see on my phone. So I can also tell you when the chat can actually see what they're seeing at the time that they're seeing it. So they can see it now.
If it's playing, Garth, you'll have to either share your sound because it's still.
Okay. My sound. Let me do this again. Give me one second.
Drop your screen. Put the link in the private chat, and I can play it for you.
All right.
Okay, give me a second. Fair use, educational purposes only. Fair use. And this will definitely be in French, so hopefully we have English on in there. Let me just make sure. There we go.
Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger announced their departure from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in January 2024. But what led to this dramatic decision? The roots of this exit lie in a complex web of political, economic, and security challenges. The three countries accused ECOWAS of failing to provide adequate support in their fight against jihadist groups. They argued that the bloc's focus on political processes overshadowed the urgent need for security cooperation. Following military takeovers in these countries, ECOWAS imposed harsh sanctions, which the new leaders viewed as counterproductive and harmful to their populations. Again, there was a growing perception that ECOWAS was unduly influenced by external powers, particularly former colonial rulers, compromising the bloc's ability to serve African interests. The Sahel nations felt that ECOWAS had not delivered on its promises of economic integration and development, leaving them vulnerable to external economic pressures. Now that you have heard it, what's your take on these grievances? Do you think ECOWAS could have done more to address these concerns? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The exit from ECOWAS didn't happen in isolation. It was part of a broader strategy by these Sahel nations to assert their independence and forge a new path. Let's look at some key steps they took. In September 2023, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger signed this mutual defense pact, creating the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. This marked a significant shift towards regional cooperation outside of ECOWAS frameworks. In a bold move to assert sovereignty, these nations began the process of closing foreign military bases, particularly those of former colonial power France. The Sahel nations started exploring new international partnerships, notably strengthening ties with Russia and other non-Western powers. Steps were taken to reduce economic dependence on the CFA franc, exploring alternatives for monetary sovereignty. The three countries increased military cooperation, conducting joint operations against insurgent groups without ECOWAS involvement. These actions signaled a clear intent to chart an independent course. Before we continue, just a gentle reminder to like and share our videos. Also, subscribe to the channel to stay informed on the latest African.
So we can discuss from there. There had been a lot of things going on in the background that we wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to see. And that is for good reason. Now, understand the reducing of its economy by the CFA franc. They have their money and wealth that is still in Europe. So the France still has control of their dollar. I think they're going to get out of that probably at the end of next year or beginning of next year. It really depends. It all depends, honestly, on how the BRICS payment system will work and how that would be translated to the other economies. Because now, understand, they have their money. They know their worth. They know their value. And it's really refreshing to see their value and their worth. But again, they can't just up and, leave things, especially when you have money. You can't leave your money on the table. So for them, they are trying to strategize due to how they're going to recoup their money. And then how do they forecast the raw materials and resources that they have available to them in that transactional space that will be under BRICS Pay, Mbridge, and Clear. So this is a delicate game that they're playing. And yes, Brother Asaph, France is not going to return African reserves. They're not. But what they're going to stop doing is they're going to stop sending their reserves to Africa, and that has happened. That has happened. So now Africa is controlling its resources, and France, and generally not just France, but that's also the European Union, and the West, I would say the West in general, the West is not immune, are now having the loss of resources. And it's, go ahead. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Oh, no, there was something I was just going to just play on that. I don't know how many of you have seen the leader of the Conservative Party over here, who is now a black woman, has made some comments about reparations and how that we don't need reparations, and how she is about, you know, the benefit of Britain and so on and so forth. Obviously, they were cheering her in the House of Parliament and everything. A lot of black people over here went on Twitter and gave their opinion. Now, I kind of feel like the thing is, she wasn't just talking about Britain. She was more talking about Britain, us over here, the Caribbean and Africa. And talking about how yes, slavery happened, but some good things happened. Yes, and yes.
Auntie Ruckus.
That Britain, yes, that Britain brought along many good things as well. Somebody hit this chick with a book, but she turned around and said how that they also J0, I can't stand her either. That they also that Britain helped bring about the end of slavery. And I saw somebody left a comment saying, how are they going to feel proud about ending something that they started? Why would you feel proud about something like that? You should never have started it in the first place. But this is the thing is, like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that I remember saying this, that these people are not going to pay reparations. They just won't. And we have to be prepared for that. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that they don't want to pay, because what will also happen is that I feel that this is where Africa is going to just say, okay, we're holding our resources, and they have the backing of BRICS with Russia and China, in the background there. The West don't want that.
It's funny that you say that, Sister Chantel, because literally Mali is arresting foreign executives from these different mining companies who've been, doing fraudulent tax evasion and doing all these other forgeries. So, the Malian president has arrested them and brought them under the law, their laws, and they've also already made new mining codes that state that if you are a foreign entity and you want to do business or you want to set up any type of mine, you will always pay taxes first, because before they were not paying taxes. I think they had almost like $160 million in unpaid taxes. This one company. So yes, they've already done that. So it is kind of, I know it may seem bad on one side of the coin, but it is good, because then Africa will just say, okay, you don't want to help out, or you don't want to, give our people just due, then we'll just take our resources and, we'll just, play hardball back.
And they can also determine how they are paid. So it's like they can turn around and say to the West, oh, you want this resources? How much do you want it? I want you to be able to start, well, like you were saying, Karis, bring us back our people. That's checkbox one. Second,
one. Yep.
I want you to start paying us back I want you to start giving us back our all our goods, our things that you took from our land. Everything that you have in the British Museum, give it.
Yep.
That's checkbox number 2. Then the next one will be, you still want this resources? How badly do you want? You're gonna have to pay in gold. Yeah, gold. That's checkbox 3.
Shalom, everyone.
Hey,
Shalom, Uncle.
Go ahead, Brother Asaph. Shalom.
I had no intentions of coming up, but staying in the background. But Sister Chantel did point out one important thing about Kemi Badenoch. And she is from the same tribe as Bola Tinubu, who is an asset of you-know-who. And also the leader of Ghana is also an asset as well. And this is the reason why they're not trusted by the Sahel states.
Are they all from the same tribe?
Yeah, Bola Tinubu is from the same tribe as the leader of the Conservative Party over here.
But what about what's his face from Ghana?
He's an Ashanti from the same tribe as my wife.
Okay.
And you know, my wife is here, but she's in a different room, thank God. But these people aspire to be more European than even us from the Caribbean. You know, they're more Anglophile. Because my wife has never been to Oxford, but if you listen to her, she sounds like an Oxbridge graduate. She sounds like Sister Chanel talking posh.
Oh, darling.
Yes, exactly. You know, so whereas I was born over here. I've got the same level of education academically as Brother Caris, you know, but if you notice, we who are for our people, Brother Caris, they've profiled us and they don't want us to be in positions of influence and power. Because I applied for a job for the Commission for Racial Equality when I just newly graduated with my doctorate degree, and they gave it to a journalist, the position to a journalist who is married to a European, you know, who's never going to back for us anyway. I didn't even make the interview, and I had 2 bachelor's degrees and an MBA degree and a PhD degree and substantial experience in the civil service and private sector. Similarly, in local government as well, they're willing for me to work for them as a consultant, you know, paid by somebody else, you know, but not employ me directly, because they know once my foot is in the door, things will have to change. So they'd rather have me as a consultant, being paid by you know who, everybody knows who I work for, right? You know, a couple of days a week, rather than to have me inside where I can make organizational change. And it's the same thing for Brother Caris as well. He was an operator whilst carrying a military title, you know, within the organization that he works for, because they know that if we as Israelites come into positions of influence, then we will try to do something to benefit our people. And the only way that we can do it now is if we are in organizations like Q2UA, because whether you believe it or not, the people on the continent are listening to us, the young people, and they're seeing that we have the same sort of oppression that they have over there dealing with, but it's coming from their leaders who are aligned with the West, and we're under the same yoke. So the only way that we can get rid of the system is to get rid of the Western leaders who are influenced by and hold Gucci and these fraternities over their people while they suffer. And it's a sea change now, and they realize that, you know, and we hope that a few more Ibrahim Traore's may come up. I think Malema's not going to do anything because he's seen as he's just a constructive opposition to the system anyway. You know, it has to be young. Yeah, it's compromised. It has to be young leaders who have a vision for their people and who
and the strength to carry it through, to be honest.
That's exactly. So we have to support Ibrahim Traore as much as we can, and the other leaders as much as we can, and build our community not only politically but spiritually as well.
Well, exactly, because what is at stake is when you are able to control your thoughts and control your understanding. What's at stake is after you're able to control your thoughts and your understanding, you're able to see what they're saying, and then you're able to expose the idiosyncrasies, right? You're able to expose the game that they have been playing on us. And it is a game. And the game is mastered for them really at age 3. So they don't even know that they've been playing the game that is now their downfall, because they have understood that their hierarchical standard or status gets established at that level. It gets established at that time. And then people are trying to figure out, well, how can we go and get back and get better? Honestly, you can't. You won't have the necessary requisite skill sets. You just don't. And I'm not bashing on them, but I'm telling them the reality. It's like this. If you are a crackhead, you're not going to be able to help anybody when you're on crack.
That's true.
Let me show you how I can help you. Man, you are on crack. Man, what are you talking about? I'm good. I'm good.
Your vision is so messed up, you can't even see straight.
They can't see straight. Because why? Because they're literally prideful crackheads. And they will run back into the burning building over and over again, because that building is their pile of crack. And you know what? I'm sorry. That's what it is. You know, they used to clown on us with losing Isaiah and, New Jack City and all these other things. And now it's really New Pride City.
It's all about them now.
Well, they're losing. It's all about them. It's not just because they're losing. It's because they can visibly see that they're losing.
There's no hiding it now.
Nope. That Areshnik uncovered their what's the word I'm trying to use?
Their weakness.
Yes, it's their weakness. Exactly.
They uncovered their weakness. Sister Chantel, did you?
But it's a
did
better
you
word
see
for the
that
weakness.
petition?
You know what I'm saying? The weakness is in their inabilities.
Yes.
And their inabilities, that is their that's how that goes. They are no longer able to be confident.
Well, they're mass panicking.
Insecurities. There you go. Insecurities.
But Sister Chantel, did you see that petition that nearly reached 3 million in the UK for them to rerun the election over here again? Did you hear about it?
I did hear. I heard about it. I just thought, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. It's the same kind of foolishness. It's really weird because it's like we seem to be mirroring. Yeah, we are mirroring you guys. It's really weird. Like even with the immigrant crisis, as they want to call it. I was listening. There was a video that I was listening to in regards to the conservative leader, and there was a white guy that was on there talking about how she's talking about closing off the borders or whatever, doing whatever. And, he's like, well, do we believe her? Do we get, this, and obviously he's hoping that she does do that, because he's like, everywhere in the Western world, it's a real issue. All Western nations are now starting to understand that there's a real problem with immigrants and we need to start closing off our borders. And I'm thinking, I'm hearing him talk, and it's like, I'm thinking to myself, all of this is kind of like directed. It's almost like they're being herded to Jeremiah 51, where everyone goes back to their own nation, their home, because these people, like, they want us gone. And in their mind, it's like for all of us, not us, but all of us in the diaspora and all these different nations as well, would see this as, oh my gosh, you're kicking us out. This is our home. And in a way, yes, it is. It's been our home. We've made it our home. It's still our captivity, but it's our home. We've been living here, just like our ancestors. You know, the elders were lamenting when we read, Psalms 137, you know, where the old men were saying, you know, that lamenting that the young are going to forget where they're supposed to be, where their place is. And that's where we find ourselves today. But I find it interesting that we seem to be in a direction of being herded back. And these people will think that it's a hard thing, but it's like when war hits or any major catastrophe, people will flee. These people are going to wish that they had somewhere to go. And they're going to have to sit in their pride. All these ones, especially when they show their face with their whole chest saying, yeah, we need to close up these borders and these people need to get out and everything. On your neck of the woods, another woman who was saying that she was brought over into America when she was 7 months old. And, you know, America's her only home. She says they want to try and, she hasn't even had her papers, you know, officiated. They're still whatever, dragging their feet. Same with her mother. And she's like, this is my home. They want to send me to a place that I don't even know. I don't know anything about that place. And she said, like the journalist that was interviewing her went to a Trump supporter and showed her the video. The woman's, you know, she's upset and everything. And she's like, well, it wasn't her fault. She was a baby, but yeah, she should go. Or at least her mother should go. You know, the one thing that the woman said is that I don't want my family to be broken up. Mm-hmm. And they can't even show they have no empathy. They are so selfish and self-driven. They don't care about anybody else. It's like, you are here to service us. I know that a lot of us have seen that video of that the Asian man that was sitting down at dinner with a Gentile, and he was saying that America was not made for you. The Asian man is like, yeah, but I'm first generation. I contributed, I stimulated, and it's only starting to dawn on these people that they see you as they never saw you as anything other than a buffer, because you didn't really offer them anything except for as a buffer between them and us. And another sister turned around and said, it's not about you. It never was. They want you gone so that they would love nothing more. When they say make America great again, they don't have you in mind. What they have is them at the top and us serving them again as it was. Because she was answering the question about, well, if the Hispanics were putting forth that, well, they're going to kick us out, what do you think is going to happen to you? And she says, nothing. Because they want us here. They don't want us gone. They just want us back in the place that they had us in before you came in here. That's what they want. If we're going to be honest, you know, that's why do you think that they weren't coming for black people when those riots were kicking off here? They weren't coming for us because they see us as their slaves. And for all those white people over here that turn around and say, oh, well, I'm not like. Funny enough, it weren't your lords and ladies that were in the streets rioting. It was you, average, everyday people. The ones who say, well, I was hard done by. My grandfather was in the mines, you know. Whatever. But yet still, you are going to people's places of residence, their hotels, and dragging them out. And then we're seeing a video of some white man calling in and talking about let the baby drown. This is the mindset of these people. And then when we see the Bible, when it says that they haven't changed, and we understand, and not only that, when we see that how when we read, what was it, Psalms 109, talking about how their children are going to be vagabonds in the streets and stuff like that, as what they did to our people, we start to think, oh, but this is so upsetting to us, even though we know what they put us through. But it's like when you see that these people brought their children along on those riots and their children was joining in.
Yep.
Then you understand that it's trickled down from top all the way down to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You are rotten from the root to the tip of the tree.
And it was interesting that you point that out because we were talking about that, and they were showing the videos. They were actually posting the videos showing that they were bringing their children there. I wish, and I think somebody had even asked, why'd you have your kids out here?
There was, it was a white Spanish teacher.
It was like an Asian guy that was like going on around there, that was asking, like, why do you have your kids here? And it's like, it's something that they need to see and learn. Like, learn.
Well,
I wish
what does that point you to? What does that point you to?
I had that person's wish I had that person's channel. But it was an Asian guy. He was a light skinned, very light skinned Asian guy, and he was asking the Brits, that were basically terrorizing the immigrants that were there in the Holiday Inn, and they were busting out the windows.
But what does that point you to, though, Karis? They brought their children there to learn.
Same as a picnic, right?
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I live in it's predominantly. It's just like the area that I live in is predominantly the black and white people, and one of their little kids called me Key Clev Secure, and when I pointed out to the parent that I understood what that means, and that they've taught, and if they think that this is that Middle Eastern country, that I'm a Jamaican and of Jamaican descent, and don't make that side come out of me, he was very embarrassed. I could have dealt with it another way, but I had to use some Jamaican adjectives and said that we're not like the people in that Middle Eastern place. They can't touch us over here, and get away and say what they want and get away with it, but it's something that's ingrained in their children. All of them are the same. Or every single one of them are the same.
Well, that is that can be argued. But I believe, though, that at this time they're embarrassed, especially the younger generation, because there was a time, right, where they could just say, well, it is what it is. That's just kind of how things are. That's just the way things are. I can't say anything. I can't do anything about it. And now you understand when they try to say and do something about this, it's not necessarily in the interest of, trying to have social justice and social, freedoms and things of that nature. No, you literally have, when you have the pro, I would say Palestinian groups and pro, rights groups and things of that nature. That's not them on the altruistic motives. It's not altruistic. It's not because humanity and blah blah blah.
To make them feel good.
Their power has been diminished, and now they're trying to be able to find some other mechanism to be able to control a narrative. They want to be on both sides of the narrative. They want to control both sides of the narrative. And when you see, this is barracks employees detained in Mali as mining sectors tensions escalate. Barrick is one of the biggest gold mining firms in the world. And Barrick is located here in the United States. I had, in one of my assignments a couple of months ago, I was actually looking at Barrick. I wrote about Barrick. And it's funny because it's now Barrick employees detained in Mali as mining sector tensions escalate. This marks the latest detentions and a series of confrontations centered around Mali's lucrative gold mining. And surprise, surprise, it was, thank you, Brother Garth. This was as of yesterday. A lot of things have been happening. The world for them is being upside down. They're now getting hit. Understand.
I would disagree with that. The world is now going back to where it should be. From their perspective, it feels upside down.
From their perspective, it's upside down. From their perspective, it is one of those things that they're losing control. So they're losing control of their resources, and they're also losing control of their military dominance.
And they're losing control of how people perceive them. More than anything, more than anything of your military, more than anything, you need to control the perception of those around you. If that wasn't the case, Christianity wouldn't be a thing. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't see all these films, these propaganda machines go into work like crazy. They look before they did what they did to what's his face, Gaddafi. What did they tell the whole world? That how he did what he did. There's not. I never believed that man brought that plane down. I didn't believe he did that. I really didn't. They also did the same thing with what's his face in Syria, talking about how he unleashed a biological weapon on his own people.
Gaddafi literally flew to the United Nations and offered his apologies, and I think he even sent money.
Yeah.
So those are those reclamations, of trying to actually have an apology stated. Hey, look, that wasn't me, and he was trying, but I think
knew they were gonna delete him.
And funny that you say that, Sister Chantel, because Exploring the Motherland and at 10 o'clock. I will be covering how, Mali and Burkina Faso have been really not playing around with their politicians and how they disseminate information. Some politicians who are criticizing the government have been arrested, disclosing things and disseminating things that shouldn't be disseminated to the public without some type of, scrutiny or some type of regulation or standard. So they are completely, working from the ground. Well, not working from the ground up. They're completely doing a 180, and they are really in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Now they are really controlling the flow of information and what politicians could say. The one politician, literally, the Mali president, literally, fired the prime minister because he publicly said, "Oh, when are we going back to civilian rule?"
Yeah, Brother Garth, I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
No, but that's all good.
On October 8th, it says here the Malian government announced it wanted at least $500 million USD from the company and claiming the outstanding taxes. Because why? Because they know that they get on over there and they just start stealing.
Mm-hmm. They go everywhere and steal.
So now they're
getting
found out. They're getting called out. This is a season. This exposure is real. This exposure is real, and now they, as in the West, have been in the crosshairs. Because understand, they are all interconnected under that SWIFT. When the SWIFT goes down, the West goes down. That's why they've been pushing Kazan. That's why things ramped up right after the Kazan. Remember, we said it was going to ramp up.
Do you know what this reminds me of?
In less than 2 weeks. It was.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Yeah. This reminds me of oh my gosh, the Swift account. It reminds me of and it was a Chinese guy as well. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Oh, what was the Batman film? What was the second one again?
Batman Returns? You're talking about Nolan? Dark Knight?
Yeah, The Dark Knight. Where they had, what was it, Rico? All the crooks had their money in one big pot. And when it went, they all went down. And the Chinese.
Oh yeah, I remember that scene. I know.
Chinese man walked off with the money.
I do remember that.
You can't make this up. You can't make this up. It's almost like they're telling you what's about to happen.
Predictive programming.
That innocuous predictive programming.
Man.
But the thing is, think about it. Do you really, really, really believe that they want that to happen? Does anybody really believe that they want that to happen? It's predictive programming, but I think it's more, I think it's almost like a self-prophecy. I don't think they actually want this to happen. Maybe certain elements might, but they, they don't particularly want this to happen. If that was the case, they would not be fighting to get back into Africa.
Yeah, and they're fighting. No, they're fighting not just diplomatically. Malawi? Remember, they had Ukrainian mercenaries caught on camera.
Well. Did you say Ukrainian?
Ukrainian mercenaries. Yep, they're holding up that Ukrainian flag while they were
and didn't they
land forces?
And they went into Africa as refugees.
I guarantee it. Yep, probably.
I always question why these people going into Africa. You are in Europe. The whole of Europe is open to you. Why are you not going to your people? When I saw Ukrainians going into Africa, I started asking the questions, why are you going into Africa? It's just like, why are you going into Cape Town? Why? I asked the questions. No white foot should be setting foot in Africa. If you're all about European excellence, if as that idiot term I say, Europe is a garden, it's the garden of the world. Fine, now go stay yourself in that garden. If Europe is the garden, why is your people, when you have a conflict in one place, why don't you allow them to go back home? Like that Eastern Mediterranean country. Why don't you allow them to go back home? Just a thought. They have no business being in Africa. And this is why I don't know if you saw, there was a professor, so-called professor, on YouTube saying that how white people are the real Africans. I had to laugh. I replayed that over and over again just to have a crack up.
In South Africa, yeah.
Oh no, he was from here.
He was from here, living in South Africa. Yeah, living in South Africa. And he said that the Bantu people are not the indigenous people of
yes, he did
South
say
Africa.
that. Oh, if I could reach down
I roared with laughter. And
you know,
they have to be bold with that nonsense, because people can see this is their last time. These are one of their last times in action.
If you're gonna lie big.
Yeah, and that's what it's literally happening, because they have to try to magnify their lies so great, because they know that they're losing their resources. Now they're going to start coming up with the narrative. They do this. Oh, well, we're actually Africans too. What?
How? Where? Which part?
I don't know how, but they're going to come up with that narrative.
DNA test pull out with 1%.
That 1-2%
African.
Yep. 0.0034 whatever percent.
Yeah, and then say, see, I'm African, I'm Bantu.
Nah. Like I see the prophecy. I see what happened to Nebuchadnezzar is going to happen to these people. You're going to go back to your natural state. You remember Nebuchadnezzar was he was talking, and again this is what Isaiah 47. You thought that you was going to be a queen forever. I am, and no, there is none beside me. Just the same way how Nebuchadnezzar was so pompous, so arrogant with it. Look at this. Is this not great Babylon that I have built? What happened? The Most High brought him down low like a beast. And we're seeing videos of them talking about, oh, I don't need to wash anymore. I actually prefer not washing. Like, yes, going back to your beast-like.
Mean reversion, isn't it?
Exactly, going back to your beast-like self. You look a beastie.
Well, I was off by 2 million when I said 160 million that they paid. So
Yeah, around.
yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
Give or take. But that does go to show you the amount of monies that has been stolen from the continent.
I think it's probably more than that if we're going to be honest.
And what are you going to do? Are you going to ask for worthless money that may not even be backed by anything? No, you're going to ask for your gold.
No,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's why I said the check box number 3 would be, oh, you want this resource, pay us back in gold.
Mm-hmm.
When you are sitting on top, you have everything and you own your own resources now. You're in control of your own land, your own resources, and these people are coming with their begging bowl saying, please, sir, can I have some more? Right? You can then dictate the terms and you don't have to be pretty about it. They'll moan and they'll cry and they'll say, you're not being very diplomatic, because these people are so arrogant, they'll still hold their nose up. But give them a little taste of what it means to be completely in the dark. Africa will hold the sunshine while you sit in the dark. And then come back to me.
You know, I think about that payment. They're going to try and say, all right, let's argue it out in a European court, but and not pay. This is how I see it's going to happen. And then the Burkina Faso is going to renationalize those assets and say, get out.
Yes.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
And I think that would be the best thing. Let them not pay. I hope they don't pay. I know that sounds really, but I hope they don't pay, because sometimes it's with things like that that helps our people to really drive the nail in the coffin and make those hard decisions of, okay, enough talk. You can sit there and argue. Don't pay. You don't pay. You don't get. You ain't getting nothing. That's how I see this going. I agree with you in the sense of they will argue this out, because that's what they like to do. Talk to the point where they're hoping that people forget, but we're not forgetting. At least with us in the diaspora, we ain't going to let our brothers and sisters sleep on this. Nah.
Not at all.
And Russia ain't either. Because every so often, Russia comes back. Some Russian is out there literally saying, oh, the West colonized Africa, the West did this and the West did that. So I'm like, okay, keep reminding, because sometimes our people need a swift kick up the behind.
Yeah, and those people that keep, of our people that keep singing that this is our land and whatever, what the more the heat comes on from Africa is the more that they're not going to want us here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go back to Africa.
And secondly is that the diaspora wants us to come back and the government wants us to come back. And there'll come a time in the not too distant future where African leaders are saying, look, you've been freeloading off our people. You got 400 years of free labor. We want to be paid for it. And we want reparations for the people you've used. We want all the stuff that you've stolen from us back before we sit down and talk about resources.
And again, I agree with you.
In a position to do anything about it.
They won't, because they'll say no. Like I said, they'll hold their head up and everything because they're prideful people. Remember, they'll cut their nose off to spite their face. And the Most High already said that your pride is whatever. But they'll do that and they'll sit. I foresee that they'll probably fight one another for the resources in their own land before they come with their begging bowl. They'll wait until it gets so bad that they have nothing to trade with. And except for the gold, what is gold going to do you when you are broke, when you've got no food, no heat? Like when we see the scriptures saying that they will throw their gold, their silver and the gold in the streets, maybe this is what they're talking about. They're going to throw it, saying it's worth nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I can't eat it. I can't heat it up to keep my house warm. I can't do anything with it. give the gold to the Africans, give us heat, give us food. We need food. I see that happening.
Yep.
Your gold ain't gonna mean nothing if you ain't got the resources to buy.
They did that pipeline because they thought that the pipeline coming through Burkina Faso and Nigeria would supply them with free gas.
Yes.
That they could get away with.
Three of them. The Nord Stream, they had the Turkish one, and which they tried to blow up as well. And then Africa. Africa was always always their trump card, so to speak. They always thought we've got Africa in the bag because they had Africa in the bag. They wanted to exploit Russia as well as exploit Turkey, knowing that they're building up, because they know at some point they understood that there's only so much. We don't want to be dependent on Russia forever because we have to play, by their rules. And we know Turkey just flip-flops everywhere. So they were just exploiting or just getting what they could until they finalized that pipeline. That was it. That was it for them. Because it was like, we built this, we don't need them to at all. And so they stupidly acted too soon by blowing it up. You blew up Russia's pipeline and then said, oh, Russia did it. And it's like, Russia has the off switch. They spent billions building this. Why, with all logic in my head, would I believe that the Russians would blow up their own pipeline? Are you dumb?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally just lends to, earlier in the show, the first story, how, now Ukraine is in an energy crisis, and, they're, more than 1 million of them don't have power. And, it's just kind of like, I mean, Russia knows what you did. And, you were a vessel through NATO to, to continue all this chaos. And, you don't think it's going to come back upon you. And, literally the Ukrainian prime minister was giving all this propaganda about, this is a gross escalation and all this other stuff, when they literally have used every means to incite and escalate war to the point where, there's no coming back. Well, I mean, we're at the point of no return anyway. I mean, I could only see, this escalating to the point where Putin has to use something that he never wanted to use. And, the people will just, continue to see what's going on. And someone made this point that, like, Putin is really in stuck in a rock in a hard place, because at the same time he's being very diplomatic, and he's being, he's trying to be the voice of reason. But at the same time, the Russian people are going to be like, come on now, we need to, they're going to, we need to, there's some type of self-preservation or some type of pride or nationalism that they'll try to incite based off of what has been done to them, and, their rightful, ownership to that land, and all this other stuff that will just be, taxing on him. And, I mean, he's been doing, he's been very diplomatic, but I'm saying, the pressure is gonna, surmount on him, and he's gonna have to do something.
I agree. And it's funny because it's like, the West won't report that, will they? And I see him as a very shrewd, a very far thinking and a far seeing man. He's also concerned about how history is going to report this. Like, Putin is
dropped a bomb on them.
Exactly. No matter what, I don't care what people say. And I had this discussion with my sister the other day. Putin, she believes what the West has told everybody, that Putin's an evil man. And I'm like, I said, first of all, this man has been defended. Nobody wants to talk about, or nobody can remember how Ukraine was killing off Russians. after they had a referendum and they voted to be part of Russia or to be independent. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that at all.
Sorry, Brother Garth.
This man, yo. I'm sorry.
Let's listen to this because, man.
Oh, is that what's his face
over there?
Oh, is that what's his face?
Y'all here's fair use. Here's a minute and 39 seconds. Y'all Brits are tripping. Here we go.
No, don't.
How we are? Let's face it. We're waging a proxy war. We're waging a proxy war, but we're not giving our proxies the ability to do the job. And for years and years now, we've been allowing them to fight with one hand tied behind their backs, and it has been cruel. It has been cruel, and we need now to give them what they need. So 3 things we need to do to get this thing done. We need to give them the weaponry they need, give them the permissions they need, give them all the military support, logistical, tactical we can, that without coming into direct conflict with the Russians ourselves. Number 2, we need to give them the money, and I talked about the 300 billion. But number 3, we need to make it. So when you get absolutely, and by the way, we should do more than just the 300 billion. We should construct a kind of lend-lease.
The 300 billion is the $300 billion that they stole from Russia, just to give you context.
Yeah.
For Ukraine, and $500 billion or whatever, so that Putin knows. This is all about Russia knowing what the end state is. To get back to my key point, the Ukrainians, the Russians, the world has to know where we, America, UK, Europe, want this thing to end up, and we have allowed that ambiguity to drift on and on and on. And that is the whole problem with Ukraine. Unless and until we clear it up, you won't persuade Putin to back down, and you won't get a peace.
God. Mans don't know what's coming.
That they want to go to war.
Yeah, of course, man. This is like a slap in the face.
And it's cowardly. He literally said, we want to push Ukraine out. They're our proxies. Fight for us. We'll give you the stuff. We want you to take the licking. Just leave us out of it, but we'll give you what you need.
He looks like a mad scientist, someone said.
He does. And like the sleeves and everything. I'm so ashamed that he was running it. Like, it's a shame. Like him and Trump, they look like they shared the same. Like they came from the same donor, the clone. They look like a clone. One was taken out too early and one was left in too late. Like they just look. He looks like a hot mess.
I was gonna say he kind of reminds me of Gary Busey.
Yes, he does. That somebody stepped on.
Before the OD that ended his ability to cognitively, put things together. Oh my goodness. Those drugs, man. Those drugs. Here's another one.
But
Ukraine imposes
if
first wartime tax hikes to fight Russian invasion. This is from Elena Harmash, November 28, 2024. This is Reuters. Thank you, Brother Garth. You put that in the chat. President Volodymyr Zelensky signed into law on Thursday Ukraine's first wartime tax increases as the war against Russia reaches its 34th month. Finance Minister Serhiy Marchenko said that the bill was vital to ensure smooth funding for the Ukrainian defense sector next year. The changes will take effect from December 1. Why? Because I believe he knows that U.S. is going to pay for the war. Unless they do what they do to keep Donald Trump out of office. Because understand that war funding will actually die on out.
Yeah, and secondly, they have to focus on keeping that Eastern Mediterranean countries' government in power, because it's through it they exercise their hegemony.
Exactly.
So it sacrificing them and keeping the Trump card, well, their ace in the hole is more important than Ukraine. So that is going to come to an end at some point, you know. But the thing is that they can't escape what's going to happen, because, as Joe Free says, a hook has been put into their jaw, and they have to fight.
Yep. My thing is, I look at it like this: they'll lose Ukraine first, because it's going to be too much. Because the U.S. is going to be at a breaking point. I'm sorry, it is.
It is at a breaking point. It's not going to be. It's at a breaking point.
So, you know, what, $725 million arms aid package? Like, it's ridiculous. Folks are starving out here. Folks are literally starving out here in the United States. And they're just giving away the money willy-nilly. And you want to know what? It's going to be their people that's going to be up in arms. They literally broke the U.S. economy. The U.S.
You're talking about the Ukrainians?
Biden broke the U.S. economy.
Oh, yeah.
Biden destroyed the economy. Let's do one more story.
Don't forget, we're not far behind either.
Okay, one more story. I think that was most of the stories. The last one I had was the one about the aid package, the $725 million, which is crazy.
Yeah, because what are you going to do when this money is no longer going to? It's not going to Americans anymore. So what are people? I pay taxes for it to go to Ukraine. I pay taxes. So the new Department of Government Efficiency, the Elon Musk's Doge department, can say we no longer need this, we no longer need that, because that now needs to go to that Eastern Mediterranean country. Take it or leave it.
It's like you come home from work and your paycheck, most of it is going to the man across the street to feed his children.
No. It's not that you're going to work. You're going to work and none of your paycheck goes to you. As a matter of fact, you still need to scrounge up enough to take away to give to other people. That's how much we're over leveraged. We're over leveraged like 160 some percent.
This country's broke as well.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff happening. I don't know if you want to also report that. That's breaking news, Brother Karras. I just put in the private chat. I mean, I know that Exploring the Motherland, it was scheduled at 10 o'clock, but I mean, it's important, and I could be amenable, and it doesn't matter to me. But yeah, this is a new. I just saw this news about
Ukraine just hit an oil depot.
Yeah.
What's that?
Ready the nukes. Ready the nukes. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. Oh man. I don't know if we're gonna get out of November.
I don't even know how we're gonna make it to Saturnalia.
Yeah.
As I said before, while they're tucking into their turkey.
And this is yeah. I'm trying to look. I don't see anything just yet, but yeah, if that's what Sky News is reporting, it'll take a little bit of time, because that's as of today's Ukraine war latest. MI6 uncovers staggeringly reckless Russian sabotage in Europe. Ukraine hits oil depot. So,
one thing about a bear is that they're slow. They sleep a lot. They sleep. And when they come out, they're a little groggy. They do what they need to do. But once that bear starts running, and picks up speed, you ain't going to outrun that bear.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to outrun that bear.
Yep.
And when they get you, their attacks are savage. They go for the plumpest part of that person.
Yeah.
The plumpest part. I'm not joking. They literally will tear into your behind.
Yep, they do. And then when they tear into your behind, guess what? Your hamstring snaps and you're not able to move. You're just you're just there. Screaming on the ground, dying and bleeding out.
Oh gosh, this is the image in my head.
And that is what's happening.
Did you see Cocaine Bear?
Yeah, yeah. I had that image.
The bear flew out the. Oh my gosh, man! That film was savage. It had me in stitches.
That was based on a true story.
I know it was
in the foothills of Georgia. That was hilarious.
I think I might have to give that film a second watch. I only watched it the first time and it had me in stitches. And I think we talked about it on Messenger in the group chat. We was talking about it as we were talking about, I think this is when you brought the, Sister Shauna brought the video of the bear climbing up in the tree, going after the bird, after the eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, oh my gosh. These films come out when they're supposed to come out. Cocaine Bear is a,
Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, Brother Garth, I'm going to leave this on up to you. I am grateful for you all coming through today after the Turkey Day. But I got to get rolling. I will say my shalom and farewell. And thank you all to the panel. And with that, I am out of here. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
All right, Brother Karis. All right. Sister Chantel, your closing statements.
Okay. First of all, I want to say, Sister Lynn, I've been saying that this year might be the last Christmas. And I keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying, while they're tucking into their turkey, I've always said that it feels like as if something's going to happen at the end of the year or the beginning, but between that time period, yeah. I find everything to be hilarious, but not in the sense of I'm taking it for granted. It's hilarious because you read the scriptures, and as we go through scriptures, or years ago when we were making jokes about this, like Cocaine Bear and everything, it's like, it's so funny that we're here right now, and it's like all we can do is laugh and just be amazed and like, oh my gosh, the scripture literally says that wisdom is laughing. She's laughing. And the thing is that what people don't realize is that wisdom is with the people. So when we are sitting here looking at these things and laughing, we're not laughing at their downfall. We're laughing at the fact that, well, for one, you didn't want to listen to us. Just like on the secular side of things, where a lot of our brothers and sisters are saying, we told you, we warned you, you decided that you was going to vote against your best interests. Not black people's best interests, but your best interests. You voted against it. White women and the POC community voted against their best interests. They were riding high with the Labour, but you fell Labour, sorry. Democrats, sorry. But you fell for all of that, you know. And we say the same thing. We knew this was going to happen. We've joked around and everything, but we're here now when we're laughing because it's like, wow, weren't we talking about this? Did we not say this was going to happen? And we look around and it's like things are just escalating so rapidly that if our heads are spinning, I can't imagine how these Gentiles and even our own brothers and sisters who choose not to believe and don't put their faith in the Most High, I can't imagine not having that, because it's like I would be terrified. If I'm going to be honest, I'd be terrified. I'd be like, my children have no future. But I know better. You know, I know better, and I put my trust in the Most High. So, but thank you for having me on. And this has been good. This has been interesting. And I want to say, I want to say shalom to everybody in the chat. You know, you guys are amazing. I do love each and every one of you. And I hope and pray that you guys have a great Shabbat, peaceful one, and that you're kept safe in his arms. Anyway, thank you for having me. And Uncle, I'll see you. Have a good Shabbat.
Shalom. Shalom, my sister.
All right, Uncle ASAP, your closing statements, and thank you for joining this afternoon. I mean, wow.
Thank you very much for having me on the platform for the very first time speaking live. And I'd like to thank everyone in the chat for joining us and our host. And I would like to say everyone should stay prayed up. Do not be shocked by what you see happening in the news. It's happening every second now. And I think it won't be long now. I think our friends who are still celebrating Christmas, I don't think you have too many more to go now. It's a done deal, and we should be focusing more on being correct with Yahuwah and getting out of here. Thank you very much, and shalom.
Shalom, Uncle ASAP, and I completely agree with you. Again, family, thank you for joining this morning. I hope this was an edifying live for you all this morning or afternoon, wherever you are at. Please like and share and subscribe and get the word out, because we will continue to keep you abreast on what's going on and what's happening, so we can all, you know, move as one and really rely upon our Father in heaven and what he is doing. And we are just, you know, here to create to create bridges between our brothers and sisters, whether it be in the diaspora or on the continent. And we will continue to watch. I have no clue what is going to happen this weekend, but I'm pretty sure, you know, with the escalations and all the things that were stated, that we may see something later today or this weekend. It always ends up that way, but either way, we are in his hands. He has us, and he is doing this all for our benefit, and we need not to be afraid. And we just put trust in him and continue moving and continue uplifting one another, edifying one another, and strengthening one another as we see our redemption drawing nigh. And join me in a minute on Exploring the Motherland, where I will continue to elaborate on what's happening on the continent and how things are all moving and how it all encompasses to our mission here at Quest Unite Africa. All right. Thank you, family. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Enjoy your Shabbat.